do I look like a guy who's gonna have 6 people for dinner in just a couple hours right here? I don't think so. But come on, it's summertime. The days are long, it's hot, the garden is in overdrive, and you know, at times like this, I want to keep everything just absolutely super simple. I want to have those immediate flavors like fresh cilantro and green chilies and tomatoes from the garden. So I'm not going to call this a dinner party. I'm just going to call it having some friends over for a little Mexican-inspired cookout. And, you know, the feeling that I'm going for, it's like that feeling that I always get when I'm relaxing with some friends at a place like El Canelo in Guadalajara. I mean, the place is just like this great big outdoor seating area under a canopy. Long tables, dirt floors, and, well, the kitchen's basically just this great big walk-in fire pit. The meat cooks in there, slow roasting on these long spears poked right into the ground. It gets all crisp and juicy as that fire crackles around it. Sounds kind of primitive, I know. But that's the thing, it's so direct, it's so satisfying, and it's so much fun. Now, that flame-cooked goat and lamb and pork, it's fabulous fresh-made salsas, warm tortillas, ice-cold beer. And you can just laugh and talk and sing along with the music for hours and hours. I don't really have one of those fire pits like they have at El Canelo. I think you'd probably agree with me that the last place you want to spend a lot of time on a day like today is in a hot kitchen. So here's my strategy. I'm going to try to get as much stuff done as possible ahead of time. And then when my guests arrive, I'll be able just to finish all the food right outside with them being part of the party. Got a really simple menu. It's going to be a basic tomato salad with some good fresh flavors, and then some carne asada, you know, that grilled beef over a wood fire, great marinade, some tortillas, beans. But first things first. Dessert. Well, mostly because I wanted to make this really great homemade ice cream, and it's going to need a little time to firm up in the freezer. You know, I just love these frozen canister ice cream makers because you can keep that canister in the freezer and pull it out, and in half an hour or so you can have really great homemade ice cream. I'm going to need some half and half, some eggs, but you're going to have to stick with me on this one because I'm going to make fresh corn ice cream. Super traditional in Mexico, but basically not heard of very much in the United States. But it's so delicious, and what better way to capture the summer than to go to the farmer's market and get some of that super sweet corn and turn it into a really great ice cream. Okay, so first we gotta cut the kernels off of the cob. First, upending a small bowl inside of a very large one. That just keeps the cob up out of the bowl. And then you can cut those kernels off, really slice them right off the cob. Okay, now I'm going to pour into the blender a cup and a half of this half and half. And then I'm going to scoop in the fresh kernels of corn. You know, this is super sweet bicolored corn that I just love so much. I'm gonna set up a little double boiler because we're gonna do our ice cream base over simmering water. And I'm gonna turn that on, get that going. And in this little bowl here, I'm going to separate out 4 eggs, the yolks from the whites. Okay, now into the yolks, I'm going to put 3/4 of a cup of sugar plus about 2 tablespoons. That's really, for a couple ears of corn like that, the right measurement. So I got my 3/4 cup and then another half of that going in there. And stir that mixture just to blend it all up. It's going to be a pretty stiff mixture there. Now I'm going to turn the blender on and make a puree out of the sweet corn and half and half mix. I'm going to strain it through just a kind of medium mesh sieve, nothing special, nothing too fine. We're going to cook it until it starts to thicken up nicely. That'll probably take 10 minutes or so. And when it's thick enough to coat the back of a wooden spoon really nicely, you see when I draw my finger through it, it holds a straight line. We'll take it off of the double boiler and nestle it into a big bowl of ice and stir it until it's completely cold. Then it's ready for all the rest of the ingredients. There's some evaporated milk and some heavy cream. Seasonings like orange liqueur, a little bit of lime juice, a little bit of cinnamon, and it's ready to go into the ice cream maker. Now, in about 20 minutes or so, it's going to be the consistency of soft serve ice cream, just incredibly luscious. But what I always do is to scrape it into a freezer container, stick it in the freezer and let it firm up for a couple of hours. And I'm going to scoop it out, serve it with a few crushed raspberries that I also got at the farmer's market, some cookies on the side, and we're set for an amazing summer dessert. Greatest hits of summer. All in one, corn and ice cream. You know what's so amazing about ice cream in Mexico? It's a whole different world. Now, what's really going to give me that Guadalajara effect is this, wood, not charcoal. This stuff starts burning and it starts filling the air with that delicious aroma. Gets right into the food. You know you got something that's really, really special. Now you can just add little twigs like this, little fallen branches that you've cut up to a regular old charcoal fire. You know what I really love about this grill is it's got a charcoal drawer. So I can start my charcoal fire and then I can just lay these little pieces of wood in there and wow, they'll catch and they'll just perfume the air with one of my favorite fragrances in the whole wide world. Now, while that's starting to catch, we're going to make the marinade for the carne asada, for the grilled beef. Now, I call this carne asada brava because it's got a real pungent marinade, and I'll tell you, this is one of my favorite marinades. Ace in the hole all summer long for fish, chicken, beef, anything at all. You start by grilling some garlic. I'm just going to break this head apart here, put it right back in there, and some serrano chilies. Now, most grills will have grill grates that are a little too wide. You might lose something down there, so you might want to take a perforated grill pan and put that onto the grill. Spread out those garlic cloves still in their papery husks there. Throw on a bunch of serranos, and we're going to let that roast in there for, I don't know, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes until they're soft, blackened, and blistered. So, you know, they're blotchy and blackened and soft all the way around. These little soft cloves of garlic, you just peel off that papery skin. There, we'll need about half dozen or so of these guys. And then we've got these little serranos that I'm just going to take the tops off of. I like this marinade to be spicy. Remember, I call it the carne asada brava marinade, the brave heart marinade. I'm going to throw all of that into the food processor. Put in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then we got to season it pretty highly with salt. I've got this beautiful salt that I brought back from Chiapas that is very finely ground. About 1.5 teaspoons of that will go in there. And then of course we've got to put some lime in this marinade. That's what's going to spark it. Squeeze that right into the food processor until I got about 1/4 cup of it. Top goes onto the food processor. Turn it on. Going to make a smooth puree out of it. Absolutely, the smoother the better, to disperse all of that flavor through the marinade. fact, I'm going to just drizzle about half of it over the top of the steaks. Remember, it's really spicy and very flavorful, so a little kind of goes a long way in this preparation here. And then I'm going to flip them over and smear the marinade on the other side. Now I'm going to put these away in the refrigerator until we're ready to grill them. But the other thing that's going to really set the mood is the music. Okay, I'm not sure that I really want to do that high energy roving mariachi kind of thing that they have at El Canela. I mean, it's just 6 of us hanging out in the backyard. So I thought we could get started with a little mellow music. Something like, I think that would be really good. One of my favorite bands from Mexico City. It's got a real groovy feel to it. This is a group called Café Tacuba, a song called Esa Noche. Just great beginning party music. But for authenticity's sake, we wanted to mix in a little bit of mariachi music. Well, I think probably I would want to go to something like that. Just sets the mood, doesn't it? This is Jose Alfredo Jimenez. He's synonymous with mariachi music. Everything that he recorded is a classic, sort of like the Woody Guthrie of mariachi. It'll be nice for the middle of the party, I think. And then, I think, if we wanted to really go a little bit faster, a little bit more party music mood, then we could go with Cachao. Now, Cachao is like the great salsa composer, and this particular number is called Jóvenes del Ritmo, the young people of all the rhythm. And this guy is Afro-Caribbean dance music par excellence. Great for the end of the party. Okay, from one kind of salsa to another, I'm going to make a really delicious roasted tomato salsa. It's one that I call a salsa huevona, which really means lazy guy's salsa. Starting with some jalapenos and some tomatoes. We're going to use the same perforated grill pan. Then I'm going to cut up an onion, just quarter it. You can see how easy this one is. To go right on the same tray there. Lay it over the hot grill like that. I'm going to close it down, but about every minute or so I'm going to go in there and turn everything around until it's all blackened and charred. Yeah, they all sort of look burnt, kind of charred, but that char just brings out all the sweetness and things, and the smokiness that comes from that wood fire is absolutely delicious, okay? But you can tell that this is kind of a lazy guy's salsa because you just put everything on the grill and kind of burn it. And then when it's time to make the salsa out of those ingredients, just take the chilies and put them into a food processor. I've got 4 cloves of garlic that are going to go in there as well. Put the top on, and we're going to just coarsely chop that. Then the tomatoes go in. You can peel off that charred skin if you want to, or just leave it on like I'm doing here. It's very rustic food, very soul-satisfying food. And then we're going to pulse that until everything is kind of a coarse puree. It won't take much time at all. And then I'm going to scrape that into a bowl. You can see all the little blackened bits in there. Smell the sweet roasted chili and roasted tomatoes. I'm going to give it some salt here. And then I'm going to chop up those charred onions separately and add those to the salsa. I like the texture of them. Looks like there's a little skin I should peel off there. I like the texture of these guys better if they're not chopped by the food processor. Grill roasted onions are just one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. It's everything I like on a good summer afternoon, and I'll tell you, it's been a fabulous summer for tomatoes here in Chicago, and they're always the best when you grow your own. Okay, so if you've got that grow your own impulse, but you don't have a great big garden to work in, you might want to check out these really cool growing boxes. They're self-watering growing boxes. They were developed by this organization, a not-for-profit, that's called The Growing Connection. And to tell you the truth, they were developed for urban areas in developing countries or areas where the soil had really been depleted. Now, they come completely self-contained, so they've got this potting soil in there, they've got some organic fertilizer, they've got this little cap, looks like a shower cap kind of thing that you put on the top. Well, the first thing you do is to moisten the soil and then dig holes where you're going to put your vegetable plants, and then you cover it with this plastic cover here. That's to trap in all of the moisture so that you don't need so much moisture when you're growing them, and you don't have to water them so much. And then of course, this is the fill tube that goes to a reservoir that's on the bottom. So you put your water in there and then it just soaks up from the bottom, and you won't have to water it hardly, well, maybe once or twice a week. Now, I'm going to grow in here chilies and tomatoes so that we can have some really great tomatoes out of this box. So I've got the tomato seedlings. Well, they're a little bit big for calling them seedlings here, but I'm going to drop that down in that hole on that side. I've got some Anaheim chilies. We'll drop those down. You just seed them there, fill up that reservoir with water, and they're set to go. Just put them in a really sunny place, because sun is what's going to help these tomatoes and these chilies to grow. Now, another cool thing about the Growing Connection people is that they're encouraging kids all over the world to connect by internet and share information about their successes with growing particular kinds of fruits and vegetables in these growing boxes. So, well, I guess I could say that it gives me a little bit of hope to think that maybe the solution to some of the world's problems, like hunger and connectedness, well, it's homegrown. Okay, I think you can see what I mean about it having been a bumper crop for beautiful tomatoes in Chicago this year. I mean, just look at this gorgeous selection of heirlooms. Some of them came from the garden, some I bought at the farmer's market. This is a German stripe, a yellow taxi over there. This one's one of my favorites. That's the little green zebra. Here's a Brandywine, and you know, every one of them is going to add something special to this simple tomato salad. I mean, they all have a different texture. They have this wonderful flavor differences, subtleties that they're going to add to the whole thing. Now, I call this salad, which I have to say is one of my very favorite things to make in the summertime, a tomato carpaccio, because I'm just laying them out sort of like you would find thin cut raw beef done in an Italian restaurant. You just want to mix and match and make it look really beautiful. Now, separately, I'm going to make another marinated salad, and this one's going to be made from more farmer's market ingredients. This is a cipollini onion, sometimes called a bottle onion, and I'm going to thin slice that. Now, this red onion is one of the sweetest and best onions to eat raw. So I'm going to just collect all of my thin slices here into a bowl, and then I'm going to chop up some these beautiful little purple tomatillos that we've got here. Now these are, you know, this is the tomatillo is the little husk tomato. It comes with that little papery husk on the outside of it, and these have been peeled off. And if you get the heirloom varieties of these, they're going to be the purple ones. Really great flavor. Amazing great flavor. So you chop these up. I like to cut each one of them into 8 pieces. This is quite a wonderful treat of both flavor and texture. So I'm looking for about equal portions here of the thin sliced red onion, the raw tomatillo. And then I'm also going to put in some of these little teardrop-shaped cherry tomatoes. Man, I love these things. What great flavor. What great sweetness they can add to things. Cut those into quarters. I saved out a few of those roasted cloves of garlic, 3 of them that I'm going to put into the food processor. And then I've got some cilantro here. I just want the leaves, so I'm going to kind of just tear the leaves off the top of this bunch and put those down in there. Then we're going to make a very simple vinaigrette, cilantro roasted garlic vinaigrette. I like a fruity vinegar for this. And I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of vinegar in here. And then about double that much on the olive oil. A nice sprinkling of salt, because of course when you put a dressing like this on tomatoes, they really love the salt. And then a little black pepper, my favorite new little pepper mill, because it's got a way to grind the pepper right into a little reservoir at the bottom, and then when you get the amount that you think you want, you just pop that part of it off, and that goes right into the food processor. Now we need to make a puree out of this, of the leaves and the garlic part of it. Let that run until it's really smooth. About half of that will go on. We're going to reserve the rest of it to go over the tomato salad, the tomato carpaccio, when the guests arrive. And then I've got some other plans for garnishing as well. I've got avocado that I'm going to dice up and sprinkle over the thin sliced tomatoes. We'll pile this marinated mixture right in the center, strew a few herbs over the top of it, and boy, it'll be fabulous. But we'll do all of that garnishing after the guests arrive. So I'm going to put this all in the kitchen, and I'm going to see how Deanne is doing on setting the table. So the red ones are going to be the deepest in the flavor, and those orange ones are really light and kind of sweet. I like them very much. And I already made this dressing with roasted garlic and cilantro. Now I did this other little marinated salad. I just pile this mixture right in the middle. Go over the whole thing with a little cracked pepper. Okay, heirloom tomato salad. Let me tell you what's in the middle. Well, cheers, everybody. Welcome. Cheers. Great to have you all here. This has got kind of a spicy marinade, so I hope you're up for some spicy food.
I'm always up for spicy food, you know that. So what else do we have with the steak?
Well, with the steak, I did these beans, charro beans. They're cooked with bacon, a little roasted green chili, tomato.